PCem is an emulator that lets you relive the old PC era with various hardware configurations and operating systems. In this video, I will show you how to download and install PCem and the required BIOS files. First, you need to go to the official website of PCem, which is pcem-emulator.co.uk. There you can find the latest version of PCem, which is v17 as of this recording. Click on the Downloads link and choose the PCem v17 for Windows option. This will download a zip file containing the PCem executable and some other files. Next, you need to extract the zip file to a folder of your choice. I will use C:\PCem as an example. You can use any folder you want, but make sure it is not a system folder or a folder that requires administrator privileges. Now, you need to get the BIOS files for the machines you want to emulate. The BIOS files are not included with PCem due to legal reasons, so you have to find them yourself. You can search online for websites that offer BIOS files for old PCs, or you can dump them from your own hardware if you have access to it. The BIOS files have to be placed in subfolders inside the ROMs folder of your PCem installation. For example, if you want to emulate an IBM PS/2 Model 70, you need to create a folder called IBM2_70 inside the ROMs folder and copy the BIOS files there. The names of the subfolders and the BIOS files have to match exactly what PCem expects, otherwise it will not work. You can find a list of supported machines and their BIOS requirements on the PCem website or on the Emulation General Wiki. Once you have all the BIOS files you need, you are ready to run PCem. Double-click on the cem.exe file in your PCem folder, and you will see a window like this. Here you can configure your emulator settings, such as video, sound, input, network, and more. You can also create new machine profiles or edit existing ones. To create a new machine profile, click on New and choose a machine from the list. You can also give it a name and a description. Then click on Next and configure the hardware components of your machine, such as CPU, memory, video card, sound card, hard disk, and more. You can also choose an operating system image file if you have one. When you are done with your configuration, click on Finish and your new machine profile will be created. You can then select it from the list and click on Start to launch it. PCem will then boot up your machine and load your operating system if you have one. If not, you will see a message like this: Non-system disk or disk error. Replace and press any key when ready. This means that you need to insert a bootable floppy disk or CD-ROM image file into your virtual drive. To do that, click on the disk menu and choose either floppy drive A or CD-ROM drive D. Then browse for an image file that contains a bootable operating system or software. For example, if you want to install MS-DOS 6.22 on your machine, you need to find an image file of the MS-DOS 6.22 setup disk. Once you have selected an image file, click on OK and then press any key on your keyboard to continue. PCem will then load the image file and run it as if it was a real disk. From there, you can follow the instructions on the screen to install or run your operating system or software. You can also switch between different image files by using the same disk menu option. That's how you download and install PCem and the required BIOS files. I hope this video was helpful and informative. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more videos on how to relive the old PC era with PCem. In this section, I will show you how to create and configure a virtual machine with PCem, choosing the appropriate hardware and software options. PCem is an IBM PC emulator that can run old operating systems and software from the 1980s and 1990s. To create a new virtual machine, you need to launch PCem and click on Settings Configure. This will open a window where you can select the machine type, CPU, memory, video card, sound card, network card, hard disk, and floppy disk options. First, you need to choose the machine type that matches the system you want to emulate. PCem supports various IBM PC-compatible systems from 1981 to 1996, such as IBM PC XT, IBM PS/2, Compact Desk Pro, Asus P/IP55T2P4, and more. You can also choose a generic machine with a custom BIOS if you want more flexibility. Next, you need to choose the CPU that matches the machine type or the software requirements. PCem can emulate Intel processors from 8088 to Pentium MMX, as well as AMD, IDT, and Cyrix clones. You can also adjust the CPU speed and enable or disable features such as FPU and cache. Then, you need to choose the amount of memory for your virtual machine. The memory size depends on the machine type and the software you want to run. For example, if you want to run Windows 95, you may need at least 16 megabytes of RAM. After that, you need to choose the video card for your virtual machine. PCem can emulate various graphics modes and cards, such as CGA, EGA, VGA, SVGA, VISA, and 3DFX. You can also adjust the video memory size and enable or disable features such as linear frame buffer and Voodoo graphics. Next, you need to choose the sound card for your virtual machine. PCem can emulate various sound cards and APIs, such as AdLib, Sound Blaster, Gravis Ultrasound, MIDI, and CD-ROM audio. You can also adjust the volume and enable or disable features such as Sound Blaster 16 DSP and AWE. Then, you need to choose the network card for your virtual machine. PCem can emulate a Realtek RTL8029AS network adapter that supports Ethernet and TCP/IP protocols. You can also choose the network type and MAC address for your virtual machine. Next, you need to choose the hard disk and floppy disk options for your virtual machine. PCem can emulate IDE and SCSI hard disks with various sizes and formats. You can also use VHD disk images for easier compatibility and portability. PCem can also emulate 3.5-inch and 5.25-inch floppy disks with various capacities and formats. You can use physical floppy drives or disk images for your virtual machine. Finally, you need to save your configuration and restart PCem for the changes to take effect. You have now created a virtual machine with PCem that is ready to run old operating systems and software. In this section, I will show you how to install and run Windows 98 SE and some classic games on PCem. PCem is an emulator that lets you relive the old PC era with various hardware configurations. You can download PCem from its official website or use the link in the description. To install Windows 98 SE on PCem, you will need a few things. A Windows 98 SE boot disk image. You can download one from the internet or use the link in the description. A Windows 98 SE installation CD image. You can use your own CD or download one from the internet or use the link in the description. A PCem configuration file for a Pentium 2 machine with a Voodoo 2 graphics card and a Sound Blaster 16 sound card. You can create your own configuration file or use the one I have provided in the description. A PCem ROM set that contains the BIOS files for the emulated hardware. You can download one from the internet or use the link in the description. Once you have all these files, you can start PCem and load the configuration file. You should see a window like this. Show PCem window with Pentium 2 configuration. Now, you need to mount the boot disk image and the CD image in PCem. To do this, go to Settings, Configure Drives and select A for floppy drive and D for CD-ROM drive. Then, click on Browse and locate the boot disk image and the CD image on your computer. Click OK to save the settings. Show PCem settings window with floppy and CD images mounted. Next, you need to start the machine by clicking on File Hard Reset. You should see a message like this.